Everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are halfway after this episode through the seventh season of Natsume's Book of Friends. How? I don't know. Oh, this season is going by way too fast, and I don't like that about it, but it's been really good and consistently on top of itself, and so I have to give it a lot of praise. But I don't know. It feels weird that we're halfway through the season after this episode. It feels weird. I'm not ready for Natsume to be caught up at all. Not looking forward to that. I think I timed it out today when I was looking at it. I think by December we'll be caught up, which is so wild, so insane. It'll be like nearly 100 videos of Natsume's Book of Friends, and I just don't know how to feel about that. So I guess what can we do? But I'm recording this ahead because I had time today, and I was like, I really wanted to watch Natsume's Book of Friends because the last episode was just so good and was so mind-blowing with like the mangaka just planning this all ahead, playing the long game, being frickin' Aizen from Bleach. And so I wanted to go ahead and watch episode 80 with you all today. Episode 80, can you believe that? Episode 80. But episode 6 of season 7. So before we get started, though, I want to give a shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all so much for your kindness and your support for this series, as well as other series on the channel. So everybody on Patreon is amazing. That's literally the only source of revenue I get. So if you enjoy my videos and you want to give me some support, that's the place to do it. And there's 4 different tiers where you can do so. But the philanthropy tier is the 3rd tier, and they get shout outs in my videos, as well as getting to break ties and doing all that fun stuff and getting all the perks that all the other tiers get, except the commission tier, but you'll have to go see what that looks like over on the channel. So I want to give a shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, to Bisa, as well as Dana, Damage3245, as well as Devorin, Destiny Marie, Ichu, Eric, Faisho, Ghostly Turnip, as well as Mochi Kun, El Freya, Lyndon Liam Posel, Murphew, Willie Morris, Translucent Min, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Daniel, and Dawood Knight. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. Do like a Care Bear stare. So last episode was all about Chobi. Learned more about Chobi. Who knew about Chobi? But we learned more about him, and that this mangaka is not afraid to play a long game, which makes me slightly nervous at the fact that we may not find out about Natsume's family for a very long time. But what can we do? So with that being said, though, we're going to start this episode and see what we get for the midpoint of the season, to see what we get. So I appreciate you all and all of your support. I'm glad you're enjoying Natsume all the way up until season 7. The comments have been so good so far, and I can't wait this week to see what comments there are. I think it'll be for episodes 3 and 4, so we'll see. But in any case, we are going to start Natsume's Book of Friends, and we're going to be doing that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. Ooh, we're gonna turn that down just a hair. Oh, get them subtitles on. I just watched this entire episode in Dutch. Not opposed, but I would not know what was going on. I've wanted to learn French for the longest time. I actually, during the pandemic, I tried to teach myself. The reason why was I found out that Carrie Fisher, who plays Princess Leia, and she's a comedian, been in lots of movies, she's self-taught French. And I was like, and there was a really cool interview with her where she was promoting Star Wars back in the 70s. And she was on like a French television show. And the French commentator, I don't know if he realized that she could speak French, but he asked her a question and she responded in French. And the interviewer was like, oh, cool. And so they started chatting up in French. Then you cut over to Harrison Ford, who's just sitting there like, because he doesn't know what's going on. It was great. But I tried to teach myself French through like Duolingo for like a hot second. And I realized very quickly my mouth does not make a lot of French noises. It would be fun to go back to and to try to learn. I don't know how successful that would be, but it'd be interesting. All right. Ooh, starting out with the rain. Natsume, you know better than to not do an umbrella. Oh. This wild saloon? Oh. Oh. Holy shit! Holy shit! Oh. Is it a yokai? It's a yokai. Oh, his voice is like laced. Laced with venom. He's like, I don't want your snacks. No! Even Madara's like, no. Oh, how different he is from Notori. Ooh. Him in a suit, as always. Oh. I did not go into this episode thinking we were going to see Matoba of all people. Is it foul, though? Oh. Oh, Madara looks like he doesn't believe his story. Mmm. Oh. Ooh. Oh. Ooh. Is he not alone? Is he not alone? Is this a trap? Oh. Oh. Oh, interesting. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, bitch. This is bad! This is bad! Oh. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He's luring the yokai there to attack it. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. But hmm. Did he have the yokai eat it? Aha! Look at that! Look at that eyebrow raise! I bet he had the other yokai eat it. Oh my gosh! What? 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 Have you been here before? Oh wait, oh this is the mansion. Oh yes. Benico's, the grandpa's mansion. I forgot it was called this. So he came back here. Okay. Yes. Are you trying to figure out about your grandpa? Oh, she invited him. Uh-huh. Well, yeah, the yokai are still going to come around. Don't blame you, and you could tell from the last time, yeah. Oh. Mm. Oh. Interesting. Yeah, talk about this. Mm-hmm. Yes! Tell us more. Right, nothing. Except what she said. Ooh. Yeah, she probably would have been too young. Yeah. Okay, cool. Good. 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 We got a lead. We got a lead. Somewhat. It could be. Oh, go buy broken glass and teacups. You'll find a... Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, probably because the yokai broke it there. Uh-huh. Interesting. Is it Matoba? Uh-huh. Yes. Did you? Were you invited? Did you ask Benico if you could come here? Hmm. Oh, his voice. Curse his voice being so smooth. He's like, that's because I'm nice. Hmm. Oh. Oh. He's like, not for you. Oh. Aw. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Well, we just saw it in the mirror. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So I can let Benico research my grandfather without... Mm. Ah, yes. Oh, you were kind enough to remember. Natsume's just observant. Right. Hmm. Ooh. Interesting to keep it from recognizing him. Ooh. Ooh. Huh. Ooh. I was going to talk about this in discussion. Quit taking my discussion points, Natsume! Oh, look how adorable Madara is! Yeah, I want to go home. I don't like being around Matoba. Oh my god. It's someone else's yard. Oh. Well, shit. Yeah, Nana say. They all have umbrellas. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh. Hmm. Interesting. Huh. Huh. Right. And now we know the OP. Well, there's the one yokai. I like that Nanase takes the time to explain to Natsume, and Matoba's just gonna be mysterious and unhelpful. Should be there. Ah. Oh. That was gonna help. Well, no! Oh. I like Madara's eyes are glowing. Interesting. That's interesting to know. Huh. Hmm. Hmm. Definitely an artificial one. Oh. Oh. Oh, shit. Oh. Oh, is this the one trying to steal his eye? Oh. Oh, shit. Oh. Oh, Madara. Oh. Wow. Oh! Ah! Well. Yeah, about that. Oh. Yeah, wanting its right eye back. Huh. Ah. Hmm. Ooh. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Ah. Huh. I felt bad for them. Hmm. It made me very uneasy, yes. Correct. I agree, Madara. Huh. Hmm. 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 Oh. Ah. Hmm. Hmm. Ha. Ooh. And now you know how Notori feels. And now you know how Notori feels. I was not ready for a Matoba episode. I was not ready for a Matoba episode. I feel like I dressed appropriately. I feel like I dressed appropriately for the occasion. We're all in black. Oh, man. Holy shit. Okay. Ooh. Of course, Natsume would be a damn saint and would find the good in anyone. Because that's Natsume. He would find the good in anyone. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm so floored by that. That was such a good episode. Damn. Giving us the biggest tease. Ah, man, y'all. Y'all. You wanted a twist, eh? I'll be honest with y'all. When I sat down to watch this episode, I thought, oh, it's just going to be a little standard episode, Natsume's Book of Friends. There is no such thing in season 7 as a standard episode of Natsume's Book of Friends. They were like, oh, you waited 8 years for this season? Oh, well, then we'll give you some stuff for this season. I figured, look, I'll be honest with you all. When Floor told me there was one 2-parter this season, which was episode 9 and 10, which we are several weeks away from, I thought, oh, well, that episode, they told me that before I even started season 7. I was like, are there any 2-parters so I can plan ahead? They're like, yeah, episode 9 and 10. I was like, okay. And I thought to myself, that'll be the episode where we have Notori and Matoba probably, because when you have a 2-parter, usually that's when the exorcists are involved, or it involves Matoba, Notori, whatever. Seemed legit. But then episode 3, we got Notori, and I was like, oh, well, we're already getting Notori, so maybe episodes 9 and 10 will involve Matoba. We're already getting that. So maybe they'll both be in episode 9 and 10. We'll just wait and see. Don't let me know yet. We'll find out. But yeah, I'm gonna also be honest with you, because we haven't gotten to the manga volumes 18 or 19 yet, or any subsequent volumes that will deal with season 7. I imagine that these two, this episode are actually 2 chapters of the manga, or 2 different manga incidents that the production studio put together into one episode. And I say that because, having been through 7 seasons of this show so far and have looked at the manga coinciding with it, they usually do the manga is well in advance of the anime, to the point where the anime can kind of pick and choose which chapters they want, which has made reviewing the manga a little bit more of a tedious process than you would think, because sometimes, like in the case of season 7, I have to wait until we get a little bit further before I can review the manga, because some stuff from manga volume 20 will show up before the incidents of manga volume 18. So it's all over the place. And I don't mind that. I think it's fine. I think that this episode, I will be honest, did feel a little clunky in how you juxtaposed the front and center of it with the Matoba incident, and the mansion was in between. It did feel a little disjointed, but I get what they were doing, and I get that we had 2 Matoba incidents. Matoba needs to be in a self-contained episode, and the point of it makes sense. So I'm fine with it. It's fine. But it is, that it just felt like a little out of place, because we don't know the exact timeline of Natsume encountering him at the train station versus encountering him at the mansion. So the episode's called The Abandoned Station, 2 Wheels. So interestingly enough, This episode was interesting. What I find probably the most interesting about it is that this episode is where Natsume is starting to feel a little bit bad about Matoba. He still doesn't trust Matoba, but Natsume is a damn patron saint, and it was only a matter of time until this happened where Natsume was like, I can fix him. And by I can fix him, Natsume's like, I can be a human and make him see the inner humanity that he needs to have. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. There's a lot of theory crafting in this episode. Romania's going to be putting on her tinfoil hat for this one, so you're going to have to bear with me. But so Nishimura could have inadvertently killed Natsume, so let's shout out to Nishimura for that one. But there was a train line that had been abandoned. I want to say, if you go back and rewatch this episode as I'm looking at it here for the discussion on the screen, Matoba's expressions around Madara and around the yokai trying to steal his eye are worth watching alone. Like, Matoba was having none of it. Like, not Matoba, Madara. Madara's expressions alone in this episode, Nyamko Sensei watching him and his reaction to Matoba throughout this entire episode is worth it in itself, because Madara was having none of it. Madara's like, nope, I don't trust this guy anyway at all. And you can't blame Madara, because Matoba views all yokai as expendable. He views all yokai as expendable, as tools, as nuisances, as problems. And from Natsume's perspective, you can tell Natsume's like, I get why you would think that. You're wrong, but I get why you would think that. So, you know, I feel like it's so funny because a lot of people ship Notori and Matoba. I do not ship Matoba and Natsume. No. We don't have any, we need none of that. But I do like the idea after this episode of Natsume being a positive pro-yokai presence in Matoba's life to make him question things. Because, you know, whenever you have, you know, Notori is not a good example of pro-yokai values to express towards Matoba, because Notori is not really pro-yokai. He's kind of just pro being nice, you know, which in itself is something different from Matoba. But I feel like, I'm not bringing Whiteboard Queen out for this episode, but I feel like you could look at Matoba is challenged by Notori in the sense that Notori is kind of an outlier in the exorcist community. He's kind of a rogue figure. Like, people view Notori kind of as this black sheep of the exorcists. And Notori does not sympathize with the yokai, not really. He's very much embedded within the system of the exorcist community, and he welcomes being in the exorcist community. Let's not forget that. Notori is a nice person, and Natsume is kind of drawn to Notori because he is a kind-hearted person. But there is a little corruption there in that he's embedded himself in the exorcist community, which is inherently a little bit corrupt. Let's be real. And Notori does not necessarily like the yokai, but Natsume has helped show Notori that there are good yokai, and that yokai are not just nuisances, that they have souls. They are often souls that have transformed over time. Some were once human. So Notori has learned through Natsume kind of the value of compassion. And whether or not Notori chooses to be compassionate, that depends on the scenario, depends on the person he's around. But Natsume has been this positive force. Notori's whole issue with Matoba is that Notori, he is a black sheep within the exorcist community. He wants to be part of the exorcist community, but he knows he's not accepted. But also Notori does not like the idea of being used. And Notori does not like the idea of an authority power hierarchy. Does not like that at all. So the concept of Matoba being this clan leader that everybody kind of turns to as a leader, and he's like, well, I'm in charge of you and I delegate. Notori's not a fan of that. He's like, bitch, we're the same age. No. He's like, I might actually be older than you. No. So Notori kind of rejects that power structure. He wants to be in the exorcist community, but he rejects the power structure, and he does not want to be a lackey to Matoba. But he also recognizes Matoba's situation, Matoba, what he's faced with. So it creates this dynamic where Notori does not feel like he can... Notori kind of puts himself in a corner sometimes, where Notori feels he can't relate to somebody, and he just, at that point, whereas Natsume, if he's like, I can't relate to you, but I'd love to learn how. Like, that's Natsume's like kind of philosophy. He's like, I can't relate to this yokai, but I'd love to learn how to relate to him. And so that kind of leads Natsume to want to learn more about the yokai, learn more about the exorcists, kind of to understand what's going on. But he kind of sticks to his guns where he determines like how he feels about the situation, right? Natsume is very good at following his heart in terms of that. Notori does not really, what's interesting about it is that Notori is not interested in changing his ways. Notori is not interested in, he's subconsciously evolving because of Natsume's presence, but Notori is not interested in becoming more acclimated to Matoba or whatever. What he feels like is that when him and Matoba are around each other, he's like, wow, we are really two different people and we have to go separate ways and there needs to be a distance between us, and that's just how it is. Like, Notori just accepts the fact that this is how it is, this is how it's going to have to be, whatever. If he didn't, they'd be a ship. So, essentially. But Natsume in this episode kind of starts to realize and understand a little bit more of what Matoba is doing, of the burden that Matoba has because of this yokai. But the most important thing is Natsume realizes that even though Matoba is putting himself out there as, I don't care about yokai, I hate yokai, they're expendable, I'm going to use them to further my own agenda, he does care about people and he does care about their well-being. And even though he is a smooth talking devilish man, there's a little tsundere in there, and he is doing things to help benefit his fellow exorcists, even if he may not want to admit it. And Natsume, that's like a damn moth to a flame. Natsume's like, oh, there's a good trait within you? I want to help draw it out. And it's like, no, Natsume! And Nyanko-sensei's like, Natsume, stay away from him. And, you know, there is a little naivete in that where Natsume's kind of like, oh, you're actually a good person. I think Natsume wants to believe that Matoba is a good person and that he can be kind-hearted and that he's not just as vicious as he has prostrated himself as the Matoba clan leader to be, because he has to, because that's part of being, it's like being a Yakuza clan member. He has to put forth that he is this intimidating figure to maintain a structure of power. And Natsume's like, but you're actually a good guy deep down, right? And Matoba's like, no. So, of course, Natsume wants to bring out that goodness in him, because I think Natsume believes that, like Notori, it will make Matoba be kinder. I think the issue, though, is that even if Natsume is able to bring forth this idea of Matoba being a kind-hearted person or someone that does care about others, even though he's like Nicholas in the Care Bear movie. Speaking of, I've got Care Bears on the brain. He's like, no, I don't care about anybody. It's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You just don't want to put that forward. Here's the thing, too, with that. Notori, because he is entrenched in the exorcist community, knows the dangers of yokai, knows what they represent. He knows how people think of them. And it's not above Notori to exorcise yokai if they are a danger to humans. That's just part of his MO. He believes in that, vision, whatever. Whereas Natsume's not an exorcist. So he's like, no, I kind of want to save yokai and people and have my cake and eat it too. And Notori's like, that's not how this works. But y'all know how that's gone the last 7 seasons. I don't think that Natsume is going to change Matoba's MO. I think that Natsume's naivete is that he thinks, oh, well, I can fix him. Not that, but he thinks I can help Matoba become a kinder person towards yokai. I don't think that's possible. That is like years and years down the road. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the moment Natsume thinks for a second that Matoba is going to spare the life of a yokai, Matoba would prove him quite wrong and would not care, because he's like, actually, I'm kind of an asshole. And so I feel that would come in the future at some time, that Natsume would have this moment where he would think naively that Matoba, he's like, I thought we were friends. And Matoba's like, no, we're not. I feel like there's going to come a time where Natsume and Matoba are going to be face to face with a yokai that maybe doesn't necessarily deserve to be exorcised. And Natsume's going to be like, but we could spare him and let him go. And Matoba's going to be like, pew, fire the arrow and bye. And that's going to be it. So we'll see if that happens. But the seed has been planted where Natsume realizes that Matoba's not a total evil menace. And you know what? As much as I don't like Matoba, because I don't like how rigid he is in his view of yokai, I don't like the unethical things that he does for the sake of his clan. I know he has reasons for them, but I don't like his methods. I'm kind of like with Natsume on that. There is a part of me that, you know, feels inspired by Natsume, that he wants to try to see the good in people. Natsume wants to try to see the good in people. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that Natsume has been misjudged almost all of his life, where people growing up, when he went from place to place and school to school, people misjudged him and they called him a liar and they called him a bad person. And it was just because they didn't understand him. And so I feel when he looks at Matoba, he's like, you're super guarded and you keep a distance between yourself and everyone else. But this episode, Natsume's like, but you're keeping this distance because you're trying to protect people. And Natsume's like, I can respect that and relate to it. Because Natsume at the very beginning of this series, way back in season 1, was like, I need to keep my distance from people to protect them. I need to keep my distance from my friends, from the Fujiwaras. I can't get them involved because if I do, they might get hurt. That moment where Natsume confronts Matoba and he says, did you come here by yourself because you didn't want to get your other clan members hurt? Matoba's like, what? I'm just taking the easy way out. Natsume's like, oh no, I see you in this moment. And I don't think, because that's the one thing that's different from Natsume and Notori, right? Notori thinks that him and Natsume have that similarity, but the reality is Matoba and Natsume have that similarity. So it's like, so whereas Natsume and Notori found common ground through this one thing, now with this episode, 7 seasons in, Matoba and Natsume have found common ground through the fact that they sometimes go off and do solo things so that people won't get hurt. And also, Matoba is willing to put himself in the line of fire to save others from not getting hurt too, which is a very Natsume trait, by the way. Like when that doll-like yokai came towards him in the circle, that is something Natsume would have done. Natsume would have stood there and let the yokai come at him and hoped things worked out to get the yokai out of the way. He would have done that and has done that before. So again, I feel like there are a lot of instances where Matoba revealed in this episode, he and Natsume are surprisingly similar in ways that we may not have thought of before. But yeah, interestingly, look, damn it, Matoba's voice is the voice of Kuro, the voice of Gojo. I don't like Matoba, but damn it, he has an amazing design. He's hot and his voice is amazingly smooth and devilish. Why? How dare you do this to us, mangaka? How dare you? How dare you? He just looks so good. The Notori and him ship, I love it. It's great. I would like to think, if we're going with the Notori and Matoba ship, I would like to think that Notori has the 31 bath. It's the meme of the 3-in-1 gel and the 31 products. Here's the funny thing. I feel like Matoba presents himself as always in a suit and always dressed up. He's using the 3-in-1 shower bath gel. Notori has the full-blown, all of the products, even though he has a bucket hat on half the time. Love it. Love it. What a mysterious episode, though. They did not show us the bird in the cage or the yokai in the cage. They didn't show us at all. This episode, I think part of the uneasiness of the train station scene is that we don't see a lot. We don't see a lot. It's dark. It's rainy. It's an abandoned train station. Natsume immediately wants to leave. He's like, nope, I don't want to be here. Madara's like, nope, let's get out of here. And he's like, what a strange place to see each other. What are you doing here? And he's like, I'm just leaving. He's like, bye. And he's like, oh, well, you could stay here for a while. I was getting bored. Why don't we chat a while? He's like, well, I'm afraid I don't have time. And then he hears the bird. I like the shot of Matoba. In that shot, he looks over at the bird yokai like, who said you could talk? Like, it has a very much like that kind of presence. He's like, is that a bird cage wrapped up in there? And he's like, Matoba, do you like birds? Again, Natsume's trying to figure out, like, what's his hobbies. He's like, do you like birds? Do you like parcheesi? Like, what's your favorite cheese? Like, Natsume's too innocent. And Matoba's like, oh, it's not a bird in there at all. It's a very nasty yokai that I just caught. Now, what's interesting is Natsume's like, really? And he's like, well, don't look so suspicious. He's like, I'm not teasing you. And then he's like, here's a snack. The client gave me at their house. I already had one. If you can have another. I like that Madara and him are both like, no, we don't want that. No, thank you. Never mind. He's like, you're curious what I have wrapped up here, don't you? An old family I know asked me to take a look at their home. I went there. The air was very unpleasant. And I looked around. I couldn't find a yokai, but there was a splendid holly tree in the yard and had a beautiful song of a bird. And the home's owner told me they built a bird feeder. And so he decides to eat the snack since Natsume's not going to eat it. He decides to eat it himself, which I think that's interesting. Again, I feel like he and Natsume would offer it to somebody. So would Matoba. But the interesting thing is Matoba's like, well, fine, if you don't take it, I'm going to take it. Like if you don't accept my kindness, don't expect it again sort of scenario. Whereas Natsume would kind of be the opposite, I feel. He's like, it imitates bird songs to get food from humans and it grows stronger. And then it draws greater yokai with its beautiful voice, making them attack the home. Now, when they cut back to Madara looks very unhappy with what Matoba is saying and very suspicious. And he's like, well, I don't know about that. He's like, I bet it's just a normal bird. Madara's like glowing eyes were on point throughout a lot of this episode. He's like, I bet it's normal bird. He's just lying to you and telling you it's a yokai to tease you. Matoba plays a good poker face, though, because he just laughs it off. He's like, that's quite the theory, kitty. I've never seen one, but I've heard of a nasty yokai called the Hidokubi that deceives humans by imitating bird songs. And I do sense something strange, but the only presence I sense from that cage is that of a bird. If you really captured something as dangerous, what are you doing out here alone with it? So now Matoba does say that there's a possibility that Madara cannot, and I feel like maybe Madara realized in that moment what he was about to do, and Matoba is like, well, there are some things that even you can't sense, little kitty, so who's to say? What's he doing in this abandoned station? Is this really Matoba? It is. I think it is. I don't think it was the yokai imitating somebody. I do think this was Matoba in this sense. He's like, I'm about to destroy it. Since you're here, I'd love to let you see it. Can you guess why it's called Hidokubi or a human head? So we don't get to see what it is. We just get to see it inside the cage, which is crazy. But then the lights come on in the station and he takes the wrap and puts it over him and Madara and says, be quiet, close your eyes and stay still. So then we have this giant yokai that comes out of the train station. Huge, huge yokai. And all the lights in the train station come on. And Natsume being freaked out in that moment. And you hear the screaming. And then it's gone. And then it's over. He says, it's okay now. And the birdcage is gone. The greater yokai travels past this. That greater yokai travels past this station on rainy days like this. It doesn't come inside the station. But if you wander around this area on a rainy day, you'll be eaten. So you should be careful. And he's like, well, where was the yokai that was in the birdcage? And was it really a yokai? And he's like, yes. Something nasty enough to conceal its true nature, aura, and voice from something as powerful as your cat. And that makes it difficult to get rid of. So I had it taken away. He's like, took it away? But here's what happened. No, the great yokai. I love Madara's, like, with his little, like, eyebrow raised, like, bitch. So essentially what Matoba did was he had this troublesome yokai that was powerful enough that Madara couldn't detect it. But Matoba's like, what do I do with this yokai? I've caught it. Its voice is going to attract greater yokai that are more powerful. What do I do? He fed it to the great yokai. That's essentially what he just did. The yokai came out looking for something to eat, and he's like, here you go. And fed it to him. And then I don't think he killed the yokai, because I don't think he by himself is powerful enough to do that. But I think he fed the bird yokai, the Hitokubi, to the giant yokai, and then it left, satisfied that it ate something powerful. Which checks out with Matoba's MO, because Matoba's whole thing is he's like, I'm going to, for lack of better words, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to get rid of this yokai and make it disappear. And so I did. And I'm going to get rid of the Hitokubi because it was a problem. I couldn't destroy it myself, but I used this bigger yokai to do it for me. And you understand why he did it, because by his logic of what he's heard, that yokai, the bird yokai, the Hitokubi, would lure other yokai to harm people. And he's like, well, that takes care of that. The thing is, there's a lot of rumors that go around the exorcist circles. And so it's hard to know sometimes, is that rumor real or is it not? Is it a real rumor or is it not? That's the question. He's like, the rain should stop soon. So we went back to the Hakozaki mansion, which I had forgot the name of it until we got here. And so, however many times we come here. So Natsume's been here a few times. Natsume has come back to this mansion. I like the continuity that we get, that Natsume keeps coming back to this mansion because it is the only clue that he has to lead him to his grandfather. It's all he knows. So him and Madara keep coming back and seeing Beniko, trying to figure out something about the strange man that was researching yokai exorcisms, who had all the yokai visit his mansion and possibly was connected to his grandfather. I do love that she kept the little photograph of all of them on the mantelpiece. I love that. I also love that she still stays there. Honestly, I thought they were going to sell the house, but she's still staying in it, which I think is really impressive, which I like. And so I also like the fact that Beniko and Natsume are the grandchildren of these potential exorcists, the grandfather of both of them. And she's like, there's still strange presences and odd shadows around the mansion, which does not surprise me because there were so many yokai that visited here constantly. It makes sense that there would be a lot of like yokai still hanging around. She's like, I think I remembered. He's like, there's too many leftover yokai for me to tell. I like Dara's just eating the croissant. He's like, well, I can look around. And she's like, thank you. He's like, the last time I came here, I met the dragon that was your grandfather's familiar. And he said, I once met a man who looked much like you. Of course, she doesn't recognize because she was just a kid. But she's like, if I find anything, I'll call you. Also, I liked the callback because back in the episode last season, the season finale where Natsume and them, all the exorcists were just running around looting the mansion, just tossing the stuff around. You could tell in that episode that Beniko was not happy. You could tell that even though she had some resentment against her grandfather, just seeing the exorcists like just toss everything out in the hallways and treat the mansion with such disrespect, you could tell that she was like, you guys are kind of slimy. Like that's the vibe that she had in those scenes. So it's good to know that she still has those feelings, and she's kind of like, I don't really like the exorcists. I don't really want them back over here, but I'll make an exception with you because you're not an exorcist, And it kind of checks with Matoba because Matoba wasn't here last time. Matoba wasn't in the raids where everybody at the end of season 6 was around. He wasn't there. So it makes sense why she would let him in, because she's like, well, I don't know if you're sleazy, so I guess you'll come. I guess you'll do. It also makes sense that the soul doll, the artificial yokai was trying to destroy the mirrors to like prevent any of the traps from happening. Also, I like Madara's like, don't touch the mirror randomly, Natsume. It's 7 seasons. You should know better. I love that. That's great. But yeah, and so then he sees, this house used to be involved with exorcisms. So yeah, I need to ask Beniko-san more about what it's like. So we have the umbrella from the OP explained. It looks like an eye. Matoba carries it around with him the whole time. Now, Matoba has his right eye. He just puts the seal and everything over it to protect it, right? He has his right eye. He just doesn't want to lose it. Which, again, Natsume clocks it in this episode. And I was like, quit stealing my discussion points, Natsume. But both Notori and Matoba have parts of themselves that are connected to yokai that they don't like. Matoba has the right eye that the one yokai is after because his ancestor failed to make a promise. And then, honestly, though, the yokai doesn't have its right eye. I wonder if the Matoba clan, ancestor stole the eye from the yokai and used it for his own gain. That would explain that. That would explain why that yokai is after them, possibly. Or it cut out its right eye. I keep thinking of the Florence and the Machine song, Girl with One Eye, which is kind of a Yuri song. So don't know if that applies in this very well, but it's interesting. Again, Matoba and Notori are similar but different. You have both Notori and Matoba have parts of themselves that are still intact that they're kind of resentful about. Matoba, it's the right eye that's always being targeted by the yokai. And with Notori, it's the gecko spirit thing that he can't identify or know why it's there, and it moves around and it's creepy. But I would say the difference is that Notori's gecko is not getting him targeted by anything that we know of. Whereas Matoba, the right eye, is always being targeted because he's the clan leader. And the obvious solution would be don't be the clan leader, but we know that's not going to happen because Matoba's like, I kind of have to. I don't have any kids, don't have any relatives. It's immediate relatives that could. It's just me. So he talks about how one of his exorcists failed to finish off a yokai and it fled here. His followers that are exorcists seem like they're not the most high quality exorcists out there, you know? He's like, she almost refused, saying someone else was looking, but it must have been you. And so I love Natsume saying, if this is your screw up, you'll fix it, right? Natsume's like, take responsibility for your actions. And he's like, well, of course, yes. I've already put up a barrier to keep it from fleeing, but it'll probably affect Madara. One thing I do respect about Matoba is he does finish what he starts, or attempts to at least. I do respect that. I respect that Matoba's like, yes, I know I'm in charge of it. I'm going to get it done. Now, his means of doing it are often questionable, but I like Natsume's like, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for Beniko and Sensei. Natsume's like, don't think we're friends, because we're not. There is a loneliness to Matoba, though, that I do feel for him, and I think Natsume feels for him for that loneliness. But what keeps me from feeling totally sympathetic to Matoba is that loneliness is very self-inflicted. He's done it to himself. And Natsume recognizes that. But Natsume probably also sympathizes with Matoba a teensy bit because Natsume himself self-inflicted a lot of his loneliness as well, rather than opening up to people. So, but it's a lot of apples and oranges because there's lots of different factors involved in that, right? And he's like, well, a chance for me to show your gratitude for all that I do. So again, one very important piece of lore that comes out in this episode is that the forbidden magic that allows you to make artificial yokai are not always able to be dealt with by Madara. Madara doesn't say that in front of Matoba, which is great. But that also makes me think that is some foreshadowing. Like in the future, there may be an artificial yokai that Madara can't take care of. So jot that away, make that known that that's something that could come up in future episodes, just in case, just note it, for the thing. But he's like, it's fled its maker and made its way here. A place with powerful spiritual entities, a shadow doll, a puppet with no soul. So at least I feel like Natsume is much more okay with them getting rid of the yokai in this episode because it is literally a puppet. It's not a yokai from outside that had a life, had culture, or anything else involved in it. It's a man-made yokai. So he feels okay with them getting rid of it. But he's like, this place might have something to do with my grandfather. So if a harmful yokai is here, we need to do something about it. Yeah. And so then he asks why he has the umbrella. And he's like, oh, you were kind enough to remember I've always had it. And Natsume's like, no, that's called observation and a photographic memory. He's like, it has nothing to do with today. There's a yokai after my right eye. This is something that keeps it at bay. So we find out that all the Matoba clan carry around umbrellas, and whenever said yokai shows up, they all imitate Matoba. The yokai that's after his right eye is not particularly intelligent. It's just super powerful, super strong, seems ancient, but it's a very simplistic yokai. And if they fool it, it gets mad and it runs away. And he's like, I'll get you next time, gadget, is essentially what happens. So they all carry the umbrellas in the hopes that it picks the wrong target. And then from there, it's not satisfied and it runs away to compete next time. Which makes sense in the oddest of ways, because if you think about it, yokai are all about games. Yokai are all about games because they're ancient and bored. And they're trying to find ways to pass the eons. So they're all about playing games. And so if you think about it, the idea that this yokai is playing a game with Matoba, being like, I want my right eye back, but all right, fine, I'll come back later and get it. Don't you worry. And what's interesting is Matoba is particularly strong, but the fact that Matoba is not strong enough to defeat this yokai says something, because usually Matoba, you're like, oh, he'd probably kill any yokai he came up against, even Madara. The fact that this yokai showed up and Madara got like full body chills, I was like, oh, this yokai's really strong. And his design is like, it's so interesting because you would think a really strong yokai, you would think it would look like a deity or have like all these ornaments and be very extravagant and elegant, or be like Madara and have this regal appearance. It just looks like a blob with a nasty mouth, which is so curious to me. So Madara, because, not Madara, Matoba, because Matoba is like trying to be mysterious and trying to have this sense of prowess to him, and he has to stay on his game and be at the top of authority and everything. He doesn't tell Natsume a lot of things. But he's like, Matoba has yokai that causes problems for him. We're going to talk about Nanase in a second. But I will say, the moment that Natsume was like, just like Notori-san, Matoba has a yokai causing problems for him, I was like, Natsume is an equal opportunist. So he's going to be like, well, if I'm helping Notori-san get rid of his yokai problem, maybe I should help Matoba down the road. But I think, again, a big difference between Notori and Matoba. Notori's yokai problem is a little gecko that's all over his body. That's not inherently causing any harm that we know of. Matoba's problem is probably one of the strongest yokai we've seen so far in the series. So that might be a little bit of a problem. So maybe he can't help him too much, but just make him feel better. Matt Natsume's like, I just want to find this thing and go home. And he's like, why do I always end up working for free when I'm with you? I'm like, Madara, you're getting paid in food. Manju is your currency. And I'm glad Natsume stays away from the exorcist. I don't want Natsume to become an exorcist, and I don't want him to be near them. I want him to be like Reiko, and as far as we know, Reiko was not an exorcist, and for him to be like her and stay away. One thing I am grateful for is that Nanase, if Matoba will be completely silent and blunt and not say anything about what's going on, Nanase will pick up the slack and be like, do you need exposition? I'm going to give you exposition. And I love that about Nanase. Nanase's like, let me explain. Here you go. Once a month, it comes to try to steal his eye and catch us off guard. So again, it's a game. Yokais love games. It's just a game. But if he dodges it, he gets upset and leaves. It's a game. And it comes back rather than learn its lesson. It's been like that for a long time. It's huge and all black, but its power is great. Strong, and it said, what did she say there? Its power is great. Its power is great. The more powerful the connection, obsession between us, the stronger the Matoba clan becomes. So it's a weirdly symbiotic relationship in that sense, because the Matoba clan becomes stronger the more its obsession and connection becomes. So inadvertently, again, a difference between Notori and Matoba. Notori, his yokai situation does not necessarily make him stronger or do anything for him. It's just part of him. Whereas this yokai's connection allows Matoba's clan to get stronger in the process. So, it's kind of a symbiotic relationship almost. He's like, it looks like an eye, doesn't it? So the doll, they end up using this trap in to get the doll caught. And as they're running around, Madara's like, well, I would have annihilated the doll the moment I saw it, but it's with this type, I can't deal with it. Forbidden magic is troublesome. These disgusting exorcists making those things. I honestly agree with Madara. I think it's a problem. Like, your whole MO is stopping yokai, but you make them yourselves. That's a little bit counterintuitive. And so he's like, okay. We get there. He's like, I need the mirror to get back there. So again, the thing of it is, and honestly points it out, Matoba put himself in the line of fire in case if it didn't work with the doll and everything else. So I'm like, again, that connection to Natsume. And right as the doll is still moving, despite like the one shot to the head from that mirror laser, again, Madara is freaked out at this giant thing coming. There it is, this big, nasty glob that eats the umbrella from the one guy. That's not Matoba's right eye. What's interesting, what's interesting, that I didn't think about was that the eye in the cage looks like the eye of that yokai. So was it Matoba that he saw at the train station, or was it the yokai that's after his eye? And here's the thing. They say that this yokai is dumb and that he's just brute strength and he's nothing more. But I feel like that could be part of just the exorcist community. They think all yokai are dumb and they think they're all inferior and just these beasts. But Natsume knows for a fact that it's not the yokai are stupid or the yokai are ignorant or beasts. It's just that their culture with the yokai is different than humans, right? So I feel like it's a situation where the Europeans colonizing North America when they came over did not understand the native peoples, the indigenous peoples' cultures. And so they just thought they were ignorant or inferior. And it's like, no, they just communicate in a different way. And their culture is so far removed and different from your own that it would seem foreign. But they assumed that they weren't as intelligent. And that was far from the reality. So that same eye was in, I'm at 18 minutes. I'm going to go back to the thing when he talks about the yokai in the cage. It's the same eye. It is. It's the same eye in the cage. So I don't know. I don't know if the mangaka, because the mangaka does have a tendency to draw some yokai the same. Let's be real. The mangaka does have a tendency to use a similar structure and pattern to the yokai. I can't imagine that it was the real Matoba with the yokai that's after his eye in the cage. I can't imagine that. But if Madara was sensing something from him rather than the cage, and if this creature can imitate others, I don't know. I don't know. He's like, I may get here before you. And then in true fashion again, but just like in the train station, Matoba's like, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to feed you this yokai that will get rid of our problem while also satisfying you and making you go away. So yeah, and also Natsume's like, holy shit, it just ate that yokai that we had all this problem with. Oh, in just a single instant. It looks like a leech. It's crazy. And he says, where did you go, right eye? And Madara says a disgusting thing. The black yokai crawled off mumbling something. It wants its eye back, is what it wants. But the problem is, I feel for Matoba in the sense that it was Matoba's ancestor that tricked the yokai and didn't keep his promise. It's not Matoba's fault that his family did that. And so I feel for Matoba in the sense that this yokai is after his eye, but it's really not his fault that he lost it to begin with. He's just keeping up with his family's traditions, Which, what do we do? He's like, very few barriers keep it away, but it can't see well. It can smell well enough to find a Matoba. He says it can smell well enough to find a Matoba, but with so many things that look like eyeballs around it, it looks from one to another and loses sight of me. It's disgusting, greedy, and not very smart. And he's like, I hate the stupid. I mean, that's why Matoba was kind of into Notori, because Notori is pretty smart. And he's like, oh, hey you there. You're not like these other exorcists that are dum-dums. So, but I mean, hate's a strong word. And he literally says he hates stupid people. And I'm like, I feel like Matoba would question why Natsume is friends with Nishimura and Kishimoto. He wouldn't question Tanama, but he would probably question the others, and Natsume would be like, I want to be friends with everybody and screw you. But yeah. And Natsume, yeah, you can see Natsume taking offense in that moment, because he's like, excuse me, no. Like, that's your problem for hating the stupid. But he's like, that's not very nice. But once in a very long while, that ugly, disgusting lump disguises itself in human form. It disguises itself as someone I or the clan knows or remembers well. And Natsume's kind of freaked out about that, because Natsume's like, it disguises itself as somebody that you care about. That's terrifying. Aren't you worried about that? That you might attack the wrong person? He's like, but it never works, because it has no right eye. And then he has like the thing over his eye there. That smile from Matoba is terrifying. Terrifying, because he's like, it won't work, because he can't imitate the eye, and I'll be able to tell. But he didn't say whether or not the yokai could transform into himself. So, and Natsume's expression in that moment is like, these people got lots of problems, and they're pretty complicated. Thinking of how complicated things were for the Matoba clan, I felt bad for them. And I mean, that's fine. I feel like Natsume is well in the right to feel bad for them. But seeing how they used this strange yokai for their own ends, even as they despised it, made me feel uneasy. I feel like two things can be true at once. I feel like Natsume can feel sorry for Matoba and for the way that he has to do things, but he can also dislike the means by which they do them and not want to associate with him. Those two things can be true at once. You can feel bad for somebody, but also not want to associate with them. That's normal. I just don't like exorcists. Agreed. But then, of course, Natsume, being the freaking patron saint he is, he's like, well, they're not all the same, right? It's gotten much brighter, and we go back to the train station. I feel like Natsume, that's totally in character for him, where he's like, well, just like we've established all yokai are different, and some yokai are good and some yokai are bad, but they're not all evil. We can't say all exorcists are bad, because Notori's good, and there might be some good Matoba, He's like, it seems safe to go outside. And he's like, thanks, here you go. And he takes it back. He's like, I'd love to talk to you some more. I don't think it was the yokai here. I think this was actually Matoba, if I'm being honest. And then Natsume says, did you come here alone so your clan wouldn't be in danger? Here's the thing. Matoba likes being sneaky, and he likes being in charge of the conversation. So like back where he smiles, being like, well, I always know whether or not he's imitating my friends because he doesn't have a right eye. He was very smug in that moment. But here, when Natsume calls him out and he's like, you were actually being nice, weren't you? And considerate of your clan. Matoba's like, shut up. He's like, don't know things about me. He's like, well, I don't want them to know I'm taking the easy way out. Yeah. And he's like, don't tell anybody what happened here. Or what? What you gonna do? What a creepy guy, huh? Natsume. I think Madara's like, you're not thinking about trying to make him your friend, are you? You're not thinking about trying to rehabilitate him, are you? Natsume? Natsume? Madara's thinking that, and he's like, yeah, could I handle that? It falls from the sky and jumps out from the side and disguises itself as someone I or the clan knows and remembers well. Which is kind of like Madara, in a way. Madara can disguise himself as Reiko and Natsume. Madara has that ability as well, so that's not far-fetched. Except Madara, you kind of know from the eyes who he is. Seeing Matoba smile as he spoke made him seem very far away. I love that line because Natsume in that moment is like, he and I are on very different wavelengths and we live very different lives and we have very different views about things. But that's what I kind of love about Natsume and why he's so freaking inspiring in this moment, because he wants to learn. He wants to understand. Even if he doesn't agree with Matoba, he doesn't want to just abandon him and not know why he is the way that he is. So freaking good. Love this episode. Love this episode. Yes. I love Madara's like, we're not going to try to befriend him, are we? I don't want Natsume to become an exorcist, but I unfortunately feel like if Natsume is going to find out anything about his grandfather, he's going to have to get to know, because my theory is I think his grandfather was an exorcist. Now, whether he's related to the Notori clan or related to the Matoba clan, I don't know. But I think his grandfather was an exorcist. Reiko was not, to our knowledge, but I think his grandfather was. And I think that Natsume is not going to find out more about him unless he digs deeper into the exorcist world. So for better or worse, we'll see. But I'm at least glad the Natsume that came in contact with Matoba this episode was the season 7 Natsume, who has grown a lot over the course of these seasons. So in any case, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. This was an amazing episode. So many things to think about, but we're halfway through season 7. So woo! Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Natsume's Book of Friends. Bye!